What if you could make more money and multiply your impact with books without selling thousands of copies? Wouldn't you want to find out just how to do that? Well, that's what this show is all about.
Hi, I'm Henika Watkis, Porter speaker, coach, author of Podcast Power, and the host of the Entrepreneurial You podcast, inviting you to listen to the Entrepreneur Secrets podcast, brought to you by C. Ruth Taylor, best-selling indie author and the Caribbean's most trusted voice on entrepreneurship. Get ready to dominate entrepreneurship.
It's episode 185 of the Authorpreneur Secrets podcast. Happy Heroes Day from Jamaica. I'm your host, Ruth Taylor, and in today's show, we are going to be continuing preparation for our Small Book Big Impact Challenge for 2025. We're going to be talking about chapter building ideas. Already 22 persons have signed up to join me. And so last week we provided some general writing tips, how to write faster and smarter with Aminata Koot. And those are 17 tips. I trust that you got those tips. If not, I'm going to put a link in the show notes so you can download it. We also have our Small Book Big Impact Challenge badge that you can display to show that you're on the challenge. I'm also going to be talking to you about what's the latest in my entrepreneurship ventures. Happy Heroes Day from Jamaica. And that's what this show is going to be all about today.
Your book is the perfect spark to get the fire going in your personal life, career, business, or ministry. Light that book spark today.
All right. So what's the latest in terms of my entrepreneurship ventures? I'm excited, right? One, it's almost as if every book that I put out through Bamboo Sparks or my own hits the Amazon bestseller list. And this was something that for years, 4 years, I was trying to figure out, not knowing that I had already hit the Amazon bestseller list with publishing my second book, When Trees Talk. And it's more about the Amazon bestseller list in terms of being in the top 100 in your category. And so one of the 12 books that I'm releasing for this year is called Making Sense of 9 to 5. And I'm writing this with an author in East Asia from Hong Kong called Boaz. So Making Sense of 9 to 5, applying wisdom in the workplace. I'm Ruth and he's Boaz. And if you know the Bible story, you would find that very funny. It's amazing how God brings people together. And this is on pre-order right now for $4.99, coming out November 30. After November 30, it will be $9.99. And it's already hit the Amazon bestseller list. It was at number 6 for new releases. And it also is in another category, and it has made that list. And so if you're interested in how you can integrate your faith with business and in your workplace, this is certainly the book to get. There is also another book that is coming out today. That's the 20th of October. And that is the book Unshackled Nuggets, which really chronicles my journey of healing over the past 10 years, overcoming heartbreak. And it is intended to help persons to move from hurt to hope. So Unshackled Nuggets is also $4.99. The ebook and the audiobook will be out this week. So it's a guide to emotional healing and purposeful living. So that one is coming out today. So it's released today. And that will leave me with one more book for 2025, which is Driving with Confidence, which is also on Amazon. Now, as I told you last week, I can't release Driving with Confidence until I have been around the wheel for at least 12 times this year, because it's about how I gain courage to stay behind the wheel, because that is really the struggle. And it talks about, attitude to driving and the psychological shift we need to make. 10 keys to driving with confidence and staying behind the wheel, why that matters. So that's what's happening in terms of books, but also the books for the other authors that we're releasing, whether it's a children's book, you name it, those are also hitting the Amazon bestseller list. Then over the weekend was also the Alliance of Independent Authors, their self-publishing advice conference. I was able to tune in to some of the presentations, and it was power packed. I like Mark Leslie Lefebvre's presentation on book selling and giving us the history of self-publishing and just the publishing industry, because he's been traditionally published and independently published. That was also an excellent session, and there were others too, with audiobooks and what are the present trends, and just so much value. If you're a member of the Alliance of Independent Authors, then obviously you're going to get the replays and the past episodes. Some are live and some were pre-recorded, and so I hope you went there. Then on the 19th for Bamboo Sparks, and you will see my Bamboo Sparks banner in the background, we had what we call our Caribbean Legacy Builders Live, showcasing some of our best-selling authors, more so to Dr. Yvette Johnson and Janet Morgan, who have written what we call legacy books that preserve Jamaica's culture and heritage. And we were able to interview them. Dr. Yvette Smith Johnson is a gifted storyteller who grew up in rural Jamaica, and she spent over 2.5 decades in education. And she has a master's in education, and she wrote a book called Guana Road Fire and Other Stories. It's a captivating anthology that delves into the lives of rural folks striving to overcome adversity. It celebrates Jamaica's resilience and the timeless rhythm of the land. And the stories are just so funny and so relatable, well written. Janet Morgan published her book also, The Art of Living Well, Mama Lita's Proverbs. She captured the proverbs her mother would tell. Now, she's been in employment benefits for over 30 years. She's a youth mentor, a youth leader, a publishing manager in Bamboo Sparks, and one of the proofreaders. And her book really is like a family heritage book dedicated to her mom. And we are learning wisdom from her mother through proverbs and how those Jamaican proverbs tie in with scripture and practical advice. And that was really an amazing session. And in Bamboo Sparks had a special for persons who sign up to take a publishing package between October 19 and November 15. That's almost 1 month. If you're a first-time author, your second book, you would get 50% off. If you're a returning author to Bamboo Sparks, for your second book, you would get 50% off. Normally, it is the third book you get 50% off of any package. And there's the bonus of the 30-day book marketing that they will do for you. That includes running some ads. That includes partnering with Written Word Media to get your book in front of over 200,000 readers. That includes helping to get more book reviews and vying for an Amazon bestseller status if you don't have one. So that was a lot taking place there. But I'm really, really excited about the partnership with Dr. Boaz Young and where this book is going, because it is set to become a textbook. And it's really about the theology of work. And it shows that when you go to study and pursue higher education, you never know where that will lead and the partnerships that will develop, because he's at Bakke Graduate University. I am there, and how, God just brought us together. And it was a presentation that we actually turned into a book. He did a 10-minute presentation or 15-minute presentation, and we were able to turn that into a book. In terms of chapter building ideas for the Small Book Big Impact Challenge. Now, 22 persons have signed up to join me. Isn't that amazing? And it's not too late to sign up for the challenge. That's November 1 to 30. You can sign up for the Small Book Big Impact Challenge. You want to end 2025 strong. And so the challenge is named after our book, Small Book Big Impact. And I recognize that when you have these challenges, it also helps to market and promote your book and build your email list, because people have to sign up. And most of the persons who've signed up, you can go to authorpreneursecrets.com/SBBI. They are doing nonfiction. I have maybe 2 or 3 doing poetry. I have maybe 1 or 2 with children's book. Most people are telling their story or writing a nonfiction book. And what we're going to do is have writing sprints every Saturday in November at 8 a.m. Jamaica time. And we're going to basically put into effect what Aminata shared last week, the Pomodoro technique. I didn't know what it was, but I've been doing this 30-minute writing sprint for a while, where we come together. You would have fleshed out a chapter, decided on a topic to write, and you can share that. Then in silence, we are there writing. And at the end of it, if you need to edit and clean that up, we will guide you in terms of how to use that with ChatGPT, so that by the end of the session, you will have a chapter. Maybe by the end of the session, you're so motivated that you continue writing. And so I want to encourage others to get on board. And so I want to help persons to prepare for the challenge. And one of the queries that came, somebody said they were concerned about if they'll have enough to write. And so I want to share with you some chapter building tips. First of all, do not focus so much on the word count just yet. You want to convey the idea or get across what you want to get across. I want to discuss that in terms of your story or a devotional. Let's start with a devotional. Here are some of the tips to build out the chapters. Is this going to be a 21-day devotional? Is this going to be a 30-day devotional? Is this going to be a 10-day devotional, a 40-day devotional, a 90-day devotional? Is it going to be a 1-year devotional, as in 52 weeks or 365 days? So if you work out how many chapters or how many days in terms of the devotional or weeks, it will help you to come up with enough topic. Now for devotions, generally there is a topic that represents a central idea. Then you have a scripture. Then you have an explanation and a story to go with it. And if you so desire, you can add questions for reflection, right? And the amount will depend on the number of topics. So the first thing you want to do, whether it's your memoir, whether it is a devotional or your story, regular nonfiction, you have to map out the book. I say, come up with what's the message of the book, who is the audience, what are the pain points you're trying to address, or the problem, and what is the prescription, right? So you have that map. What's the main idea that you're trying to convey, or the message of the book? Now, the next thing you want to do is to create an outline, meaning you jot down a number of ideas that could function as the topics for the book. So that's the outline that you're creating. What stories do you want to include? Brainstorm all of that and create, as it were, a table of contents, which is a rough outline. And a good way, I like to write in terms of 12 chapters, right? So I'm moving from the devotional to your story now, and the nonfiction. So I like 12 chapters. Brian Tracy likes 21 chapters. So you could look at that. A chapter could be 1,000 or up to 2,500 words, but you really want to get the idea out. So you want to list as many topics. If it is your story, do you want to go chronologically from birth to early childhood to high school to adulthood? If it's like your autobiography, it's a memoir like the book of Ruth, then it's really a section of your life that you are conveying. I had one lady who wrote her book, Diane Batchelor. It was for her 60th birthday, so she had 60 chapters. So you want to decide how many chapters you want this book to have, or you just let it emerge, but you need to have a plan on some topics. When I was doing my first book, what I did was, again, I decided how many stories from my life I would share, and I had what was the main idea and then what I wanted to convey. And so here are some quick chapter building ideas after you've created a kind of outline where you want the story to go. One, think if you're having a seminar, right? And maybe the seminar is 4 hours or 6 hours. What would be the overall topic or the theme for the seminar? Because that could be the name of the book, right? And then what would you include as a topic for each session, whether you are delivering it or you have an invited speaker? So I find the seminar workshop model kind of works. So that could be 4 sessions. And now, if you're doing an audiobook, it's like 2 hours to 4 hours or an hour and a half. What would you cover in an hour and a half to cover this topic? Imagine you're talking to a friend, so you keep it conversational. And that's how you would do it. Another way to build out your chapters to get enough for the whole book is to think like you're blogging a book. So you want a series of articles, and what would you cover in those? Think of a seminar, think of a conference, and what would be in each segment. Think of you doing an online presentation, a PowerPoint, a Zoom. What would you cover in each of those segments? I find that helps. If it is a book about lessons you've learned, how many lessons do you want to convey? And you want to talk about that. Always include stories, examples. You can write like you're thinking about a TED Talk. A TED Talk, ideas that matter. So they begin often with a central idea. They open with a story or a question or something to grab the audience. And the presentation normally goes into some explanation. Sometimes they give evidence, meaning statistics, anything to support the point that they're making. They will give an explanation. They will give examples, and then you conclude your chapter, whether that is with a learning activity or you just end it to move to the next one, or you can end it in a way that leads to the next chapter so that the person know what you're going to cover in the next chapter. I call that the seal it technique, and you can do this for each chapter. What's the central idea? What examples am I going to use? How am I going to explain this? And is there anything that I can do to end it, to link back to the main topic? And if you are a pastor, you're familiar with this as well. You can use the peel it technique, or if you are a presenter, which is the main point, again, example, explanation, evidence to support what you're talking about. And you can provide a learning activity at the end, link it, or just conclude. So if you do that, then you will have enough. So the outline, the central ideas, explanations, examples, evidence, or statistics, and you want to have that emotional connection. So you tell stories. And so for those doing the memoir, it's not every thing that happens in your life that need to be included. In Jamaica, we say not everything good for eat, good for talk. And so you have to say, is what I'm including serving the story? If it is your life, it could be you're just recalling the event, what happened before, during, after. What's the major aha moment? What is everything leading up? Think of what do I want the reader to leave with? And then you just jot that down and you go ahead and write. And I find if you take these approaches, the seminar approach, write like you're blogging a book or blogging in series or you're teaching in series, you have your outline, your central idea, you have explanation, evidence. If it's a devotional, that you determine how many topics, how many days, weeks is this devotional, that in writing you will have enough. And then if you get stuck, there's always Chat GPT. Other people use Claude and stuff. I'm a Chat GPT girl. You can use it to help you to also flesh out the ideas. You can give it the topic and ask it to tell it what you would want included, or ask it to give you some ideas, and it will certainly help you. Sometimes when I feel stuck, I put in the points and say, Chat GPT, I'm trying to build a chapter on this topic and I want this included. I want some statistics and whatnot. Can you help me build a story? It will generate something. Then I will read it over, see if I like it, if it makes sense, and then I include it. And that's how you can write your chapters. At the end of it, like I said, just write from your head, write without editing. At the end of your 30-minute session or your 1 hour, because you have to time block, then you go back now, edit that, and put it all together. You'll find that things may not flow exactly how you've outlined them. It will change, and that's okay. What you want is some idea to actually begin to write. So don't watch the word count. Just at the end of it, have I said everything that I need to say? Because this is just the first draft, After that, it's going to be edited, and your editor is going to tell you what you need to rewrite and that kind of thing. You want to include some quote in it. That is usually helpful for our readers. Readers like quotes, nonfiction. Organize the thing logically when you're all done. And if you're not sure that it is organized logically, a structural editor will help you to do that. But you just want to get the manuscript out. It doesn't need to be perfect. As the saying goes, write drunk, edit sober. I like to say, write with the heart and edit with the head later. So I want you to bear that in mind. And that's it for today's show. The final preparation tip that I'm going to have is we're going to talk about publishing, because I'm also challenging somebody to write and publish the book in 30 days on this challenge. And so I invite you to stay tuned. Remember, of making many books, there is no end. So go pen it to win it and dominate authorpreneurship. Ta for now, until next time.